I'd like to call the meeting of September 25th to order. I'd like to ask if anybody besides LCAT is recording this meeting.
Shirley Tancredi.
Thank you. First thing, we'd like to review and approve the minutes of our September 9th meeting, 2014.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of September 9th, 2014.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Great, thank you. I'll try to keep things fairly brief today. I am standing in for Mr. Collins as well, so I'll be covering a couple of the projects. He's a couple of critical projects that he's working on this afternoon. A quick update on the Maple Shade Signal project. The Signal project is underway right now. Daigle Electric has been on site since Monday. They will have all the work complete by the end of the day today, except for installing the new controller, or new control box. They'll be back on Monday to install that control box. And when they do so, the signal will be fully functional. It's fully functional today, but it'll be fully functional with the new controller, with all the new features relative to the pedestrian lights being in function. So essentially the project will be wrapped up by early next week.
Awesome. That'd be great. They're looking good.
They are, yeah. So the new signal heads were put up yesterday, and you may not have noticed the difference, but they are up there today functioning.
Are they LED?
They are LED as well, and the old signal heads were as well. As you might recall, we had changed those out over the last year.
Yeah, so make sure we didn't go backwards.
No, and we have retained all the old equipment, and we've retained all the old LED devices for spares in the future.
Oh, that's good.
Another quick update, the Elm Street Project I'd considered being done at this point. We have finished the loaming and seeding, and we did hydro seed all the road edges, probably going back now about a week and a half or so ago at this point. So we, other than any sort of cleanup that we might have in the springtime in areas that might need any overseeding or reseeding, to consider that project completely done at this point.
Excellent. It's a good one to have behind us.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be, the guys are starting to wonder what they're going to be doing with themselves this spring with no potholes on Elm Street to be patched.
The sidewalks on Parker Street.
We'll have other potholes, I expect. Yeah. And speaking of Parker Street, we have buttoned up for the season. We have completed all the driveways. We have finished the loaming and seeding. We have completely loamed and seeded the areas that we disturbed. We are looking at that being a project that if we get a late fall, we may go back to. But right now, we wanted to be able to shift our focus to the Millbrook water main project. So we're buttoning that project up, and we can consider it done for this season if needed. We have some good news to report relative to the lead and copper sampling that was done in the water system over the past couple of weeks. We, over the past couple of years, have been sampling. Our schedule has been reduced to 30 sampling sites. We sampled 30 sites this year. All 30 of those sites were below the action level, which means that we are now, after having done that 3 years in a row, we are going to be going to triennial or sampling every 3 years from this point going forward.
Wait a minute.
3 years.
Awesome.
So we have demonstrated that effectively we have controlled our lead and copper corrosion within our, really not within our system, but within our customers' fixtures to the point that we can then back off on the sampling schedule.
Awesome. Good.
I mentioned the Millbrook water main project. We did start that this week. We have gotten across Hunting Road, and we are now starting to run along Hunting, and expect over the next couple of days we'll be down to Millbrook and starting to lay water main within Millbrook. We have laid out that project so that we can fully install the main line without having to take the existing line out of service. So the game plan will be get the main line installed, tested, disinfected, and then as time allows this fall, switching services over one at a time. But there won't be a whole-scale shutdown of the existing line and switch. We can do that one service at a time as time allows. Our infiltration inflow project, we did receive bids at the end of last week. We did only receive one bidder, and that was a bit of a concern because we had probably 4 bidders that we expected to have some level of interest. We didn't expect all 4 of them to bid. In talking with one of them, one of the concerns was really he just ran out of time. He learned about the project fairly late, even though it was posted, well in advance of the the opening period, but he just ran out of time, and had he had another week or so, he would have submitted a bid. We did see very high pricing for one of the key items, which is the manhole rehabilitation work, about twice what we had estimated. We're in the evaluation phase right now, and there's a very good chance that we'll recommend rebidding that project based on some information, again, that I received from this one bidder who indicated that had he had enough time to submit his bid, his number would have been right where we had expected it to be. So that's the most likely outcome, but I expect at the next meeting we'll be able to make a recommendation in terms of where we go forward. Our annual road salt bid is out right now. We have bids being due on October 10th, so depending on the date of scheduling our next board meeting, it will be coming either just before or just after our next board meeting. Moving down my list, the fall town meeting is coming up. Town meeting is scheduled for October 27th. The town moderator has scheduled a presentation for LCAT on October 16th. As we've talked about before, the DPW has 2 items on the agenda that are items that we are really sponsoring on behalf of other parties, and that is 2 easement items. An easement at the Millbrook School and an easement here at the service building in support of National Grid for some of the underground work that they've been doing. We are secondary sponsors for 2 road acceptance projects as well, Wisteria and Betterly Drive. Expect both of those projects to be in very good shape. They're essentially complete right now with just a couple of very small cleanup items to be taken care of. And it's my understanding at this point that the planning board is going to be putting those articles forward as the primary sponsor, but we'll be looking for the Board of Public Works to comment on the suitability of acceptance. My last item is talking about procurement of solar energy options available to the town, essentially energy purchases through some renewable energy credits that are available. We've talked about this before. We, going back about 2 to 3 years now, have been dealing with a company called Solterra. The Solterra project appears to be losing steam somewhat. In fact, our communication with Solterra has been fairly limited over the last couple of months. We have had interest from 2 other providers at this point, a company called Lee Energy, represented by Todd Bard. They have appeared to be very interested, but they really have not provided us any specific information or specific project at this point to move forward with. We have been approached by a company called Altus, who is proposing a solar facility in the town of Hamden, a several megawatt facility. They are proposing that the town purchase net metering credits, which is essentially a savings on the town's bill that would cost us less than $1 to obtain $1's worth of savings, the way that the energy credits system works. They have a very tight schedule. They are proposing to have their system in operation by the end of February of 2015. So they appear to be the project that is most real right now and is moving forward in the very near future. We did meet with, as the board had suggested previously, with representatives of Western Mass Development, or Western Mass, to see if there's any lessons that they may have learned relative to some of the solar procurement projects that they have done. I did meet with Mr. Eric Nelson. Their involvement with solar projects have been somewhat different than what the towns would be. They have essentially been the land provider to the projects. In this case, the town's role would not be to provide the land, but basically provide the power consumption that then allows the developer to realize the energy credits that would then benefit both the developer and benefit the town. So Eric had, we had a good discussion. Their piece of the energy business is different than what the towns would be, and somewhat reduced in terms of potential revenue that might be realized or cost savings that might be realized. But it was helpful at least to reach out and chat with them. At this point, based on everything that I know, I would be looking and recommending that the board go ahead and decide to rescind the agreement that we had with Solterra because the time limit that we have in that agreement has expired at this point, so at this point we can walk away from it if we choose. And subject to negotiation of terms and conditions, vote to move forward with Altus. I have put a draft agreement from Altus in front of Jim Donahue, Town Council, to review. He's found it a much more workable agreement than the agreement that we had from Solterra. There are still some items that he'd like to go through. In fact, he and I are meeting tomorrow morning to go through the specifics of the terms and conditions. But given that Altus is looking to move forward on a fairly tight schedule so they can present to their investors that they have a real project with real off-takers of the power, there is a need to try to move forward fairly quickly on this. So if the board was...
One motion or two?
It could be made as one motion, I believe, to rescind the agreement with Solterra and to award to Altus.
We ready for that?
Yeah.
Okay, I make a motion that we rescind the agreement with Solterra and start negotiating with Altera.
Second. Second.
Any further discussion?
Sounds like the
All in
right thing.
favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And I want to note that if this project does move forward on the timetable that they're expecting, we are potentially looking at about $100,000 per year of net savings.
So can we start saving money in 2015?
We could. It could be as early as fiscal 2015. The way that the draft agreement is written right now, the commercial operating date, which is really the date that they flip the switch and start generating power and thus start generating credits, would be the end of February of 2015. So it could impact us as soon as that.
That's good, so Sam and his team can give us more money for other things.
All right.
Yeah, that's what I get out of it.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
And the only last item I had on here was really to introduce to the board and to the public Dan Murphy, who has been recently hired as the town's new town engineer. So if Dan wants to say a couple of words, that would be great.
And just as I said before, it's great opportunity for me. I'm real thankful to the board for showing some faith in me and to hire and bring me on board. I don't know how much you know about my background. I grew up surveying. My dad had a small civil survey firm, so I grew up surveying and doing project engineering, septic systems, subdivisions, and then basically went into consulting, got my engineering degree, and then worked similar to Bob. I worked for Camp Dresser and McKee, and then I worked for Dufresne Henry, Stantec, and then 3 years ago I decided to try the municipal just to see the other side. I generally work for municipal clients, so I have a good background working with municipalities. So the opportunity came up, and I think it's a great chance for me. And just in the first few days, I've met a lot of the staff. Everybody's been helpful. They're all sharing with information, and I'm looking forward to all the projects that we've got going, and we're glad to be on board.
Awesome.
That's great, yeah.
Thank you, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, I think at this point, we're going to turn it over to Mr. Feeney.
Okay, a couple things, won't be too lengthy. Last week on 9/17, Mr. Parent and myself met with all the department heads regarding the renovation proposals we're trying to move forward with Town Hall. Many things were discussed. Obviously, the IT relocation has impacted the renovations considerably because it's, I guess, yeah, loosened up some square footage for us to move forward without, space issues and everything else. So we did talk with, just briefly with each department head on modernization of the existing offices, specifically to the accountant's office because it's such a small area, maybe moving some walls around there. Customer experience and workflow within the town hall. We've talked about swapping clerk's office from the assessor's office, but just trying to throw some ideas out there so they can digest it a little bit in each department and come back in maybe the next week or so and bring some of their ideas forward on their opinions and maybe suggestions of doing that project.
Are you going to work off Plan 4 and modify it? Is that
We actually received, I got some existing floor plans from Reinhardt Associates, so we're going to take that in with Dan's help. He's got some CAD experience, we got some CAD drawings. We can kind of manipulate those and see if we can make it work with all the existing and see how we can make, you know, all those options and see if we can keep some of them in play, some of them not, and
Awesome.
kind of work with them and maybe do some pencil drawings and get everybody's
Get
opinions.
everybody on board on it?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sounds great.
Yeah, and I've actually, I started doing some capital outlay too, as far as the fire sprinkler system, getting those estimates on our sheet, and the bathrooms, electrical upgrades, and then the elevator. We're a little concerned with the elevator cost estimate, but we're going to be looking at that and see how we can incorporate that into our plan this year.
Do we know what the target date is that capital and appropriations want to start hearing things?
Well, it's November 11th.
7th.
7th is the due date for our capital submissions, to get, to submit officially, and probably a couple weeks before that, get those in front of the board for their opinions also.
Because that's been one of the issues in the past, is it comes too late,
Too late,
too
right.
not enough information, so I'd really like to be all over it. So
Right.
it sounds like we are, that's great.
Yep.
So our game plan, you know, subject to setting meeting schedules, probably the latest meeting in October that we could bring the Board of Public Works together to review and hopefully approve what we're recommending would be the 28th of October, I believe, would be the Tuesday prior to the 7th, and then we would go to Capitol on the 7th with the endorsement of the board.
It won't be at the 28th, so we'll have to, when we get to meeting scheduling, we'll have to look at that.
We can make some adjustments as needed. Just reinforcing the, you know, the IT department move, you know, pluses, minuses. The plus from a building space standpoint is it reduced the pressure for space and it made space available. So it sort of had two positive benefits, maybe unintended benefits, but one of the biggest drivers towards trying to do something with the downstairs space was to make more room for IT. That issue's now gone away within the town hall, and the space that they formerly occupied for offices is now available for allocation to
Good.
other enterprises.
Good. Next item on my list is the high school tennis courts. Those were opened up on Friday last week to the public and the school department. They are currently being used, so that's some good news there. Old fire station was completed on time, so that money will be reallocated, I believe, at maybe at this town meeting, the special town meeting, or the annual town meeting. I've shot an email out to Nick Bro to let him know. Also, I'm currently working on the police station fire alarm specs. Just finished the specs yesterday. We're just reviewing those, and I should be going out to bid hopefully sometime next week. Also, the chiller project is still on schedule for the week of October 7th. Probably roughly about 2 weeks for that project, and then I'm going to be working on the town hall air handler replacement project also in the next few weeks.
Okay. Sounds like you're right on
Getting there.
point. All right. So we got any other business?
Sam, had any?
Sam?
You want me to talk about the lighting?
That would fall under any other business, right?
Just so you're aware, I've been working with Bruce. In fact, we're going to talk after this. Just to solidify what I have to order from the Musco Lighting Company. We do have money. ELTA, the East Long Meadow Tennis Association's got quite a bit of money left.
Yep.
I believe there's still money left from the 325 that the town allocated. And since then, we received a $20,000 grant from the United States Tennis Association, a $6,000 commitment from the United States Tennis Association of New England. Since we can't get National Grid to work on the electrical box out there, so another circuit is what they're going to do?
They got to do a new service for us. And they actually came out last week to identify the pole and get that ball rolling. So I'm hopeful they'll be out the end of next month to replace the pole, update the transformer out there, and get our new service in place.
So, given the lateness in the year, we felt it best that if we postpone it to the spring when we put in these lamps, which will help us then go back to two other organizations and ask for even more money, because we'll be in their next fiscal year. So everything looks real good. I mean, financially, it looks like we've got the money available or soon to be available. And it's just a question of me placing the order, and I want it by Bruce one last time, because Want to make sure I get the right poles, the right lamps.
Right.
And I think we said they're metal halides.
Yes.
They're not LEDs. So then they have to be structured in a certain way when you turn them off and turn them on. And I just want to be sure we're okay with it. Musco Lighting has been great to work with. They'll fix the price for us. If we want them to ship it, they will. If we want them to hold everything, they will. So I don't know, things look good. It's just that the lamps won't be in, the poles won't be in, and the lamps won't be working until probably the spring of next year.
You know, pretty soon, nobody's gonna be playing tennis in the snow.
So just an educational question for me, LED just too pricey, or
Yes,
don't do
yes.
the same job?
You need more LED lights to create the same effects as the metal halides.
Okay.
And the price is a big difference also.
And the utility cost doesn't outweigh that in a couple, 3 years, or?
The thing of it is, then you need more, you need more poles, you need more heads, so LEDs would be cheaper. Sports lighting usually falls under Musco's purview, so we decided to go with that. That's what we have out at the stadium, and it was kind of a twofold decision. I did price out, like I said, the LEDs originally with the existing poles, and I believe it was just as much as expensive as the new lighting system we're putting out at that facility now. So you're almost probably doubling the cost of the existing, which is about $65,000 total. So rough estimate wise, I gotta say upwards to 90 to 100,000 to install LED lighting out
Yeah,
there.
and it's not like they're all on timers, so really, if no one's there, they're not on.
So that's it, you walk in, you hit the timer?
You turn the timer on, and you can program them for the period, so I was thinking like from 6 to 10, they're available, but they don't come on unless you actually walk in. Then you turn it, and you're programmed for 1 hour.
So metal halide take a restart time, right?
Right,
Yes.
so...
So there's a buzzer or a flasher or
Right, they're gonna have a
something?
strobe that I wanted to talk to Bruce about.
Right, because otherwise they're off for 10 minutes
Right,
or longer.
right.
Yeah,
They have a system that warns you and you go back.
Okay, good. Excellent. Thank you for all your help too on the project, so.
It's been a pleasure, and I'd like to tell you guys, Bruce has been wonderful. The whole DPW has been great, so
Awesome.
keep up the good work.
That's the plan, so
Thank you.
thanks for letting us know it's working. Anything else for you? I'm good.
You wanna schedule the next meeting?
Yeah. I can do 7 and 21 if that works. Was Tuesdays good or bad? Were we on Mondays? What night were we on normally?
Tuesdays.
Tuesdays, so 7 and 21 or no?
I can't make 7.
Right?
Yeah.
You wanna do, and you can't make 28, right?
Okay.
21 work. Does 21 work for the next one?
Yep.
21?
All right, so we got one of them.
Okay.
1021, and that'll be your last pitch for us for
Capital items.
the Capitol Town Hall and
Right.
stuff, right? So we got that one. What do you want to do? I can do 8?
I can do 8.
You wanna go November 8th? So we're
October.
October.
I'm,
Are you in the wrong month?
I'm gone
Oh, yeah, you're
till the 13th.
and leaving.
I leave the 1st, and I come back the 13th.
Do you want us to do it?
You can do it without me, I mean, you guys are smarter than
Yeah,
me.
so is 7 good, or you want to do 8?
8.
All right, so we'll do 10-8. Tommy won't be here, but we'll cover for him. And then we'll do 221 on the Capitol and the next
Okay.
one is good for that.
Okay,
Both 5 o'clock here?
Yep.
All right,
beautiful. So be it.
motion?
Motion.
Before we get there,
No.
we do need the motion to go to the executive
Yeah.
session.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what we're going to do.
Motion to adjourn, to go into executive session,
To return.
Not to return to open session. For the purpose, strategy with respect to collective bargaining.
I will second that motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No, it's Bjork, aye.
So maybe aye.
Tom Wilson, aye.
Good. Thanks, Kelly.
Okay.